Have you ever looked at a man and thought, he acts like he doesn't care, but something tells me he does? Maybe he pulls away just when things start to feel real. Or he shows up for you in ways that feel personal, intimate, even, but never actually says what's on his heart. It's confusing, right? You're not imagining things, and you're definitely not alone. What if I told you that some of the strongest emotions, deep affection, admiration, even love, don't always come out as grand gestures or romantic confessions, but instead show up as silence, hesitation, or even distance? Yes, when a man truly loves and adores you, but doesn't feel safe, certain, or ready, he may try to hide it. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares more than he knows how to express. Men are often raised to suppress vulnerability. They're taught to perform strength, not softness. So when love sneaks in, raw, unfiltered, overwhelming, it doesn't always look like what we've seen in movies. It looks like contradiction, like mixed signals, like pulling you close one moment, then going quiet the next. This video is about decoding that contradiction. It's about seeing beyond the surface, past the confusion, and recognizing the unspoken language of a man's love. By the end of this, you'll have clarity. You'll stop second-guessing yourself, and you'll understand the hidden signs that reveal how deeply a man feels, even when he's doing everything he can to cover it up. Because when a man loves and adores you, it always leaks out somehow, if you know what to look for. Let's dive in. So why do men hide their true feelings, especially when they're in love? It's a question so many women ask, and the answer is deeper than most realize. First, understand this. Men are emotional beings, just as capable of deep love, fear, joy, and vulnerability as anyone else. But society conditions them to suppress those emotions. From an early age, boys are often taught that expressing vulnerability is a weakness. Crying is soft. Talking about emotions is too much, and being in love deeply, visibly, and passionately is often seen as giving up control. So when a man starts to fall for you, really fall, it can actually trigger fear. Not fear of you, but fear of what that love does to him. He might feel like he's losing control of his emotional independence. He might fear rejection, ridicule, or not being enough in your eyes. Or maybe he's been hurt before, and love now feels like danger, not safety. Sometimes, love makes him feel exposed, and when he feels exposed, his natural instinct is to retreat, to overthink, to protect his heart instead of offering it. And ironically, the deeper his feelings go, the more he may pull back, second guess, or cover it up with distraction, logic, or even detachment. But here's the truth. Just because a man isn't saying it, doesn't mean he isn't feeling it. His love might show in protective gestures, silent support, quiet sacrifices, or the way he remembers little things about you. You just have to know where to look. Coming up next, we're going to break down the top signs that reveal when a man loves you deeply, but is trying hard not to show it. Keep watching, this is where it gets real. You might think he's just being nice, polite, or thoughtful, but if you look a little closer, the way he treats you holds quiet clues about how deeply he feels. A man who secretly adores you will show it in the smallest, most subtle ways, because even when he's trying to hide it, his heart still leaks through in his actions. He remembers things you didn't expect him to, something you said in passing, a random story about your childhood, the way you like your coffee. When a man is paying attention to the details, it's not just memory, it's emotional investment. He's listening because he cares, and because part of him wants to feel closer to you. Even if he's not ready to admit it, he'll find little excuses to be around. Maybe he texts you something random, shows up to help with something minor, or lingers in conversations longer than necessary. It might not look like a big romantic gesture, but it's his way of staying close without crossing a line he's not ready to admit is there. Sometimes he gets awkward or even a bit shy. He might fidget, avoid eye contact, or stumble over his words when the vibe gets emotional or intimate. That nervousness isn't a lack of interest. It's actually the opposite. It means he's overwhelmed by how much he feels, and unsure how to handle it. He might open up just a little, share something vulnerable, or talk about a personal moment from his past. When a man starts peeling back the layers around you, even briefly, he's showing trust. And with trust comes emotional connection, even if it's not spelled out. You'll also notice he subtly tries to protect you. Whether he walks you to your car, checks in when you're sick, or gets quiet when you mention another guy. There's something possessive and soft at the same time. He may not say it out loud, but his actions scream, I care. When you talk about your dreams or goals, he listens with real interest, and even encourages you. That kind of support isn't casual. It's the kind that says, I believe in who you are becoming, not just who you are right now. And maybe the most telling sign of all, he watches you when he thinks you're not looking. Not with lust, but with admiration. That quiet gaze, the one you catch out of the corner of your eye. It's not about what you're doing, it's about who you are to him. The truth is, love doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it whispers through presence, consistency, and the way he chooses you in small everyday ways. If you've been sensing something deeper, you're probably right. Up next, we're going to dig into those moments when he seems to adore you one day and withdraw the next. Mixed signals, or emotional protection. Let's decode what's really happening beneath the surface. Let's talk about mixed signals. The emotional roller coaster that leaves so many women confused, anxious, and second-guessing everything. One day, he's warm, attentive, even flirtatious. The next, he's distant, distracted, or suddenly unavailable. It can make you feel like you're going crazy, but here's the truth. Mixed signals aren't about you. They're about what's going on inside him. When a man feels something real, especially something deep like love or emotional attachment, but he's not ready to face it, he'll often send out conflicting messages. Why? Because two opposing forces are pulling him in different directions. One part of him wants closeness, intimacy, and connection. The other part is afraid of getting hurt, afraid of losing control, afraid of not being enough. So instead of choosing one path, he wavers between both. That's why you might feel like he's showing affection in private, but pulling away in public, or opening up emotionally one moment, then ghosting your texts the next. It's not that he doesn't care, it's that he's battling with how much he does, and whether he feels safe enough to fully lean in. Sometimes he'll test the waters. He'll say something sweet, ask a deep question, or compliment you in a way that feels vulnerable, and then immediately backtrack. He might joke about it, act like it didn't happen, or change the subject. That's not emotional manipulation. It's emotional hesitation. He's putting a piece of his heart out there, and then panicking that you saw it. Other times, he might act disinterested just to protect himself. If he thinks you don't feel the same way, or if he senses that he's falling too fast, he'll create space as a defense. Pulling back is his way of staying in control, even if it ends up pushing you away. But here's the key. Pay attention to his patterns, not just his moods. If he consistently shows up for you, checks in, remembers details, or circles back after going quiet, those aren't random habits. That's attachment. It may not be polished or confident, but it's real. The inconsistency isn't about a lack of feeling. It's about emotional conflict. Mixed signals usually mean he's not emotionally ready to handle the depth of his feelings. It doesn't mean he's playing games. Men who play games are strategic, predictable, and often selfish. But a man who's genuinely confused will show it through discomfort, tension, and hesitation, not coldness. So what do you do with mixed signals? Don't chase them. Don't try to decode every silence. Instead, step back and watch the overall energy he brings. If he's wrestling with something real, you'll feel it in your gut. You'll sense the pull, even when he tries to hide it. And if you stay grounded in your own energy, calm, confident, and clear, you'll give him the space to either step up or step out. Coming up, we're going to explore what goes on inside a man's mind when he's falling in love, but feels emotionally exposed. The fear of vulnerability is real, and it explains more than you might think. Let's take a look inside the male mind. Specifically, what happens when vulnerability shows up. Because when a man starts to feel deeply, especially in love, it's not always a beautiful moment of surrender. For many men, it's terrifying. You see, a lot of men are conditioned, sometimes from childhood, to associate vulnerability with weakness. They're taught to be strong, independent, emotionally in control. They're told things like man up, don't cry, or don't be soft. And so, over time, many of them learn to equate emotional openness with danger. So when a man meets someone who truly stirs his heart, it doesn't always trigger excitement first, it can trigger fear. He's stepping into unfamiliar territory. And if he's never been shown how to process feelings safely, love can feel like a threat to his identity, his independence, even his masculinity. This is why some men pull away when things get serious. Not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. Love puts them face to face with their deepest insecurities, fear of not being enough, fear of rejection, fear of losing themselves. Vulnerability forces them to take off the emotional armor they've worn for years, and that's not easy. Imagine a man who's been taught to always be in control. Suddenly, you walk into his life and he can't stop thinking about you. He wants to protect you, impress you, open up to you, but doing so means he has to lower his guard, and when he does, he's not just afraid of what you'll see, he's afraid of what he'll see in himself. That level of emotional exposure can feel dangerous, especially if he's never had a safe space to explore it. You might notice he distances himself right after an intimate moment. He opens up, then disappears for a bit. That push-pull behavior, it's his emotional emergency brake. It's not personal, it's protective. He's trying to regulate feelings that feel too big, too fast. And here's the part that a lot of women misunderstand. Just because he fears vulnerability doesn't mean he's emotionally unavailable. It means he's emotionally overwhelmed. There's a difference. Emotionally overwhelmed, there's a difference. Emotional unavailability is about avoidance. Fear of vulnerability is about survival. And that fear, when unprocessed, often creates confusion for both of you. So what can you do? Don't try to force him to open up. Don't push. Don't beg for words he's not ready to give. Instead, hold space. Be calm. Be consistent. Let your presence be safe, not pressuring, just steady. That alone can create the emotional permission he needs to step closer on his own terms. Because when a man feels safe to be vulnerable, he becomes more authentic, more open, more emotionally generous. But he has to get there by choice, not out of fear, guilt, or pressure. Next, we're going to talk about what it looks like when a man shows love through actions, not words, and why those small behaviors matter more than you might think. When a man is trying to hide his feelings, he won't always show love in obvious ways. But if you pay close attention, you'll notice subtle patterns, small, consistent efforts that reveal he's trying to stay connected to you, even if he can't fully admit how much he cares. He might not say, "I miss you," but you'll get that random text, something casual like a meme, a song, or a, "Hey, just checking in." It's not the message itself, it's the fact that he's reaching out without a clear reason. That's emotional gravity pulling him toward you. It's him needing to feel close, even if he doesn't know how to say it out loud. Maybe he doesn't initiate a deep conversation, but he replies quickly when you start one. Maybe he doesn't make grand plans, but he's always down to meet up if you ask. That kind of responsiveness, even when subtle, is an effort to keep you within arm's reach. He might not know where he stands emotionally, but he knows he doesn't want to lose the connection. Watch how he engages with your life. Does he remember things about your schedule? Ask about your day. Check in before something important. That attention isn't random. It's not what men do for everyone. It's selective, intentional, and it's his way of silently saying, "You matter to me." You might even notice him showing up in moments you didn't expect, supporting you when you're stressed, being present when you're sick, or offering help without being asked. That's care, not convenience. That's emotional proximity. That's love without the label. He might not flood your phone with calls, but he'll linger in conversation. You'll hear it in the pauses, how he doesn't rush to hang up, how he lets silence stretch without needing to fill it. That comfort in your presence, even through a screen, says more than words. Sometimes it's in his physical presence too. Maybe he sits a little closer than necessary, or he finds a reason to bump into you more than once. When a man is drawn to you emotionally, he'll subconsciously find ways to stay connected, physically, digitally, even energetically. It's also in the way he stays tuned in to your mood. If you're off, even slightly, he'll notice. He might not always say something, but he'll shift his tone, or ask subtle questions. He's reading you, because emotionally he's invested, whether he admits it or not. These small gestures might feel confusing at times, because they come without labels or clear intentions, But when a man is hiding his feelings, this is how he communicates, through action, attention, consistency, and presence. So if you're questioning whether he still cares, or whether the connection is real, don't just look for big moments, look for the quiet ones, the effort behind the scenes, the way he keeps the door slightly open, just enough for you to stay close. Next, we're going to dive into how his words and actions can sometimes say different things, and what it really means when he shows up in behavior, but stays silent in expression. Let's talk about one of the most confusing parts of dealing with a man who has feelings for you but doesn't want to admit it. When what he says doesn't match what he does. His words might sound neutral, even dismissive, but his actions tell a completely different story. And if you've ever found yourself thinking, why does he act like he cares but talk like he doesn't? You're not alone. Here's what you need to understand. When a man is emotionally conflicted, his words often become a mask. He might say things like, we're just friends, or I'm not looking for anything serious, but then go out of his way to be there for you. He might downplay his interest, or act like he's not thinking about you, but then he's the first one to notice when you're upset, or the one who randomly checks in just to see how you're doing. That's not game playing, that's emotional protection. Men who struggle with vulnerability often rely on words to create distance, even when their actions are pulling you closer. It's a defense mechanism. If he tells himself and you that he doesn't care that deeply, then maybe he won't have to face what it means if those feelings grow stronger. But here's the truth. Behavior doesn't lie. You can fake a conversation. You can even convince yourself to say things that feel safe. But you can't fake consistent, caring behavior. If he's showing up, remembering details, supporting you, defending you, or simply being present when it counts, then his heart is involved, whether or not his mouth wants to admit it. That disconnect between what he says and what he does, it's not meant to hurt you. It's often just his way of managing an emotional experience that feels unfamiliar or even frightening. He might not even fully understand what's happening inside him. It's like his mind is trying to follow a script that says, don't catch feelings, but his soul already has. You might also notice that when he does talk, he's careful, measured. He might not go deep often, but when he does, it's meaningful. You can feel the weight in his words. That's because when a man has real feelings, every word becomes a risk. Every admission, even something as small as I missed you, can feel too vulnerable to let slip. So what do you do with this kind of disconnect? You don't chase clarity in his words, you observe consistency in his actions. Pay attention to how he shows up, how he treats you when no one else is watching, how he reacts when you're hurting or when you pull back a little. That's where the truth lives. Not in what he says, but in what he doesn't stop doing. Coming up, we'll talk about what you should do when you sense he's hiding real love and how to respond with self-respect, emotional strength, and feminine confidence. When you sense that a man is hiding his love for you, your first instinct might be to confront it directly. You want clarity. You want answers. You want to hear him say what your heart already suspects. But when a man is emotionally guarded, pushing for words too soon can actually make him retreat even further. So what should you do instead? Start by stepping into your own power. You don't need to chase love to prove it's real. If his actions are showing care, presence, and consistency, even if his words aren't clear, trust what you feel, but don't lose yourself trying to pull it out of him. Let him come forward on his timeline, not yours. The most powerful thing you can do is stay emotionally grounded. You don't need to mirror his confusion with more confusion. You set the tone. You stay calm. You stay open, but not overly available. Create space for him to miss you. Sometimes when you stop leaning in, he feels the absence of your energy, and that becomes the wake-up call. Focus on building a connection that's safe, but not pressured. When he does open up, even just a little, don't interrogate or push for more. Just receive it. Let him feel that being emotionally honest with you is safe, respected, and welcome. That's how emotional walls start to crumble, slowly but surely. Also, pay attention to how you show up. Are you overgiving, over-explaining, trying to earn his clarity by doing more? That energy can feel heavy and unbalanced, even if your intentions are pure. Love doesn't require proving. It requires alignment. Instead of trying to convince him of what he feels, allow him the space to figure it out on his own, while you stay rooted in your own worth. If you feel the emotional connection but his words and actions continue to conflict long term, don't be afraid to step back. not as a punishment but as protection for your own heart. A man who truly cares will feel that distance, and if his feelings are real, he won't let you drift too far. And if he does, that silence is an answer in itself. But here's the real truth. When you carry yourself with self-respect, confidence, and emotional clarity, you don't need to beg someone to show up. You attract the truth. You create a container where real love can emerge, not from fear, pressure, or confusion, but from genuine, steady connection. So when a man hides his love, don't lose yourself trying to unlock him. Stay soft, stay grounded, stay powerful. Let him meet you in the space you've created, not the space you've chased. And now, as we head into the final part of this video, I want to leave you with a few closing thoughts, something to carry with you not just in this situation, but in any connection where love feels unclear. So now that we've gone deep into the signs, the subtle behaviors, the mixed signals, and the emotional hesitations, what does it all mean for you? Here's the truth I want you to walk away with. Love is not always loud. It's not always neatly packaged. And when it comes to men, especially the ones who weren't taught how to process or express deep emotion, love can look quiet, hesitant, even contradictory. But your job isn't to decode every look, every delay, or every silence. Your job is to feel the energy behind the actions, to trust your intuition when something feels real, and to honor yourself enough to let go when something consistently hurts. A man hiding his love isn't a sign that you need to work harder to pull it out of him. It's not your responsibility to teach someone how to be emotionally available. But what is your power is how you respond, how you stand in your self-worth, how you stop chasing clarity from someone else and start creating it within yourself. Because when you are clear on what you deserve, consistency, respect, affection, truth, you naturally start to move in a way that only invites those things in. You won't have to beg for attention. You won't have to wait endlessly for mixed signals to straighten out. You'll be able to say, I feel something here, but I need more than confusion. I need alignment. And here's the empowering insight most people miss: the way someone loves you is not always a reflection of your value. It's often just a reflection of their emotional capacity. You could be everything they've ever wanted, and still they might hold back, not because you're not enough, but because they haven't become the version of themselves who knows how to receive that kind of love. So if you're dealing with a man who seems to care deeply but can't or won't show it openly, take a step back and ask yourself this: am I shrinking myself to wait for him to feel safe? Or am I strong enough to stay soft, but protect my peace? Because the most magnetic energy in the world is a woman who knows her heart is valuable and isn't afraid to walk away from anything that makes her question that. Sometimes when you stop proving, stop fixing, stop leaning in, that's exactly when a man realizes what he's been afraid to lose. And if he truly loves you, that's when he'll rise. That's when he'll step forward, not just with gestures, but with clarity. And if he doesn't, you didn't lose love, you dodged uncertainty. You made space for something real. So walk with grace, stay open, but never forget you are the prize. And real love doesn't hide, it shows up. Thank you for watching. If this message spoke to you, leave a comment, hit that like button, and share it with someone who needs this reminder. You deserve love that's clear, strong, and whole. Don't settle for anything less.